On today's show, what is the future in net for the Capitals? And the Capitals are looking for revenge over the Bruins.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the future in net for the Capitals. It was something that was said here recently on the 32 Thoughts podcast by Elliotte Friedman that it appears that the Capitals would like to have both Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson back on the team in the long term. Of course, they're going to say that, but is that reality? I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about Ovechkin's historic comeback. You take a look at it, he was facing that lower leg injury, that fibula fracture that there was a lot of fear. And what kind of Alex Ovechkin were we going to see when he returned back to the ice? He has been nothing short of stellar. I'll talk about that. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about the revenge the Capitals are looking for over the Boston Bruins. But just to get it going here, talking about the questions in net, a topic that is very near and dear to me as I love talking about net minding. And one of the things that was spoke of on a recent episode of the 32 Thoughts podcast with Elliotte Friedman. And one of the things that he had said was that, talking to the Capitals and, Chris Patrick and the insiders, that it does appear that they would like to bring back both Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson next year. Now, just right off the start here, again, that is what they're going to say. They're not going to say, well, I plan on bringing one of these guys to come back and the other guy, well, he's going to have to look for another job. They would never frame it that way, but I think realistically speaking, I don't think the Capitals have the funds to bring back both of those netminders, just given the fact that they have other players that they would like to see return as well. But that is where we're going to start here. Take a deep dive into that. Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren as the summer, next summer, it'll be interesting. Both players are set to become unrestricted free agents, and the Capitals are determined to keep them locked in. Now, I'll touch on this a little bit later in the segment that, that seems like a foregone conclusion. Of course, you would like to have Logan Thompson back. Of course, you would like to have Charlie Lindgren back. But both of those netminders right now are making combined not too much money, under $2 million. So the very fact that you think that both of those players are going to come back, well, I would like for that to be true, but I ultimately don't think that that is going to be the case. Now, they've been a pivotal part of the team's success this season. I'm not here to diminish that. Of course, LT, Charlie Lindgren have played huge. I think, of course, statistically, it favors Logan Thompson at this point. And with the trade deadline just over 3 months away, the buzz around them is growing. According to Sportsnet's Elliotte Friedman on the latest episode of 32 Thoughts podcast, the Capitals have clearly communicated to the league their intention to retain both of these impressive netminders. Now, the team's pretty good. What is some of the things that we know is that the pipeline for the Capitals in net is well stocked. Hunter Shepard, Clay Stevenson, those are your number 3 and 4 netminders, not to mention all the way down. The Capitals are well prepared for any storm. The big thing is financials. And would the Capitals be able to afford bringing them both back? The Capitals are currently reaping the rewards of a fantastic deal, spending less than $2 million against the salary cap on their goaltending tandem. Charlie Lindgren is pulling in 1.1, and Logan Thompson, if you can believe it, 766,667. Quite a steal, a masterclass by former GM Brian McClellan. Quite a steal considering their stellar performance that have outshined many other higher paid goaltender duos around the NHL. And I mean, like I say, don't get me wrong. If it was, possible to bring back both of those netminders, then of course I think that would be the right idea. But Charlie Lindgren, while he might not have had a standout season as he did last year so far, again, it's still somewhat early. He has still proven to be a reliable presence. In 18 games, he holds a .900 save percentage and a 2.69 goals against. He expressed interest in signing a new contract before, but the team has decided to hold off negotiations until after the season. So you take a look at it. I think that it would favor Logan Thompson, of course. Just based on statistically, he has been better than Charlie Lindgren. To be clear here, Charlie Lindgren has been playing well too, but I think that, if you're just going to take a look at raw statistics, that Logan Thompson leads the charge in that regard. But talking about financial commitments and how these things would be orchestrated, and just for kind of just so you guys can get the idea of how much a top tier goalie tandem or a top tier netminder will fetch, Igor Shesterkin's monumental 8-year, $92 million extension with the Rangers, making him the highest paid goaltender in NHL history. And last time I checked, guess what? That the New York Rangers are in last place. So sometimes you can go out and have these best laid plans, and sometimes they go to waste. And you take a look at it, the Rangers, what happened there with that team? They got their netminder for the future, and all of a sudden the wheel fell off for that team. So it's interesting, but just to kind of give you guys all an idea of what it would take, especially for Logan Thompson. I mean, do you think he's going to come back to this team and sign for under $1 million again? There is no way. Charlie Lindgren, absolutely not. So recent contracts in the league are setting the tone for what goaltenders are worth. Another recent one here is Mackenzie Blackwood's new 5-year extension with the Avalanche at $5.25 million annually. Thompson's performance this season certainly has him in a position to seek something similar, if not better. And rarely do players take that hometown discount, or, they're not going to say, hey, I'm bleeding red, I love the Capitals. It's about, I like the team, it's winning. But at the end of the day, they want to get paid because your time in the National Hockey League is not that long. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I do not blame them for thinking that way. But where it becomes interesting is the other players that we would like to see return to this team. I'm talking Chychrun, Dowd, and Lars Eller. This could lead to a significant reshuffle for the team in the months ahead. Now, Lars Eller, he's not the Lars Eller that we remember from before, but at the end of the day, I think that, kind of a stopgap measure. There was questions about the Capitals on the third line as it was kind of flailing for quite some time, that Lars Eller brought that familiarity, a good skill set. But I think the names to really circle there would be Jacob Chychrun. I think the Capitals need to do their level best to bring him back. And also Nick Dowd, who has been absolutely huge on the fourth line for the Capitals. And one of the players that Frank Saravalli and Elliot Friedman said will be on the move at last year's trade deadline. Didn't happen, but they're going to have to come to terms with it this season. So let's talk about the other options. That in the event that Charlie Lindgren or Logan Thompson doesn't come back and they don't go out and sign someone else, Hunter Shepard is posting a 14-6-1 record in 21 games. He also has 2 shutout wins on the season. And before the season started, I thought that he was the clear-cut favorite to be the number 2. Didn't work out that way. I think that ultimately the long-term answer in net for the Capitals is in Clay Stevenson, who posts a 4-4-2 record. Now, you take a look at him, oftentimes I'll bring up, Clay Stevenson or Hunter Shepard, and people will say, well, those are AHL netminders. That's not going to translate to the big team, the NHL, and it might not. But what I'm saying is that they do have options in place, and at some point they're going to have to make good on using players like Shepard or Stevenson, Garen Bjorklund, Mitchell Gibson, these kind of players, or ultimately, why do they have them around in the first place? But hit me up on Twitter or on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think it's even possible that the Capitals bring back both Charlie Lindgren and LT Logan Thompson? Seems kind of far-fetched to me. I'd sure love to hear from you. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about Alex Ovechkin and his historic comeback. You take a look at Ovechkin last season to start the season. Got off to a slow start, turned on the Jets after the All-Star break. This season has been a man on a mission. How does Alex Ovechkin continue to get it done at 39 years old? I'll discuss straight ahead. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even know I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings things together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the top apps' premium features. Now, that was the case for me. I was paying twice for a streaming service that I had no idea I was doing. So I had Rocket Money look into it, and I saved money by canceling one of those subscriptions. And at the end of the day, it's about saving money, as the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Just go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. One more time, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, you can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And I want to thank all of you for making this your first listen of the day. All right, in this next segment here, we're going to talk about Alex Ovechkin and quite a comeback. I do remember that when the Capitals were playing the Utah Hockey Club, I've heard rumors that they might stick with that name, but at the end of the day, they should come up with a name. But that's what it's called right now, UHC, if you will. And I remember that Jack McBain injuring Alex Ovechkin. A lot of people cried foul. I didn't really think that was the case. I think that it was just out of position. But ultimately, I was very worried when I looked at it. I'm like, uh-oh. I remember when this has happened to someone like Tom Wilson or other players that it looked like a knee injury to me. And of course, I was concerned, as we know he's chasing down Wayne Gretzky. We know that he's the captain helping the Capitals win games and hopefully a Stanley Cup. I mean, crazier things have happened. But for him to just bounce back so quickly at the age of 39, well, that is not something that happens every day. So that is what we're going to talk about in this episode, or in this segment, rather, is we know Ovechkin was out for that extended 6-week absence due to a fractured fibula. And it was one of the things, and I'd heard that it's not like a load-bearing bone, that you can actually skate around on it. And it was the case shortly after the incident occurred. We saw him skating around at MedStar Ice Complex. So he got lucky, if there is a way of being lucky when you get injured. But that was the case. Ovi has returned to the Caps lineup. And let me tell you, he's picked up right where he left off. Getting an empty netter in his first game back, scoring a goal in the following game. He is picking up where he left off. Now, in his first 2 games back, he took on tough opponents in the Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings. And what did he do in both matchups? He scored. That brings his season total to an impressive 17 goals in just 20 games. I do think that it is still possible for him to catch and pass Wayne Gretzky this year, but he's going to have to stay healthy. Of course, the Capitals will need to continue to play well around him, but I do think it's doable. And the thing of it is, now he's just 24 goals shy of tying Wayne Gretzky's all-time record, something that a couple seasons ago seemed like it was way out there. is now within shooting distance. And this is ultimately a testament to his talent and motivation. And it's one thing to expect a player to bounce back after an injury, but Ovechkin is proving his extraordinary talent and motivation. This was a guy that he could have sat at home. He's got kids and a wife, kicked his feet up on the couch and just took it easy. But by all accounts, he stayed with the Capitals in the locker room, and involved in the meetings, even listening in when the guys were taking showers just to hear what they were talking about. That he is definitely vested in the Capitals. He wears that C on his chest with pride, and he wants what's best for this team. Now, competing in back-to-back games right out of the gate, he not only found the back of the net, but also logged significant ice time. That was one of the questions out there, was how much time is he going to get when he comes back? Well, if he's playing on the first line and he's ready to go, he's still built very well, and he has logged quite a few minutes in his return in the second game against Detroit, for example. He played over 20 minutes. So don't tell him that he's getting old and slow or injured. He'll prove you wrong every single time. So, the thing for me that's truly astounding is how seamlessly Ovechkin has reintegrated himself into the game. My hunch was that it was going to be a little bit slow for him getting back into it, but has not been the case. Many players, when they make their return, they struggle to find their rhythm after a lengthy layoff. Not the case for Ovechkin. So this has shifted the conversation from wondering if he can make a successful return to speculating when he's going to tie Gretzky. But if you take a look at it, given his impressive track record, playing about 95.1% of games in his career with the Capitals, you can see why the excitement is palpable around Ovechkin, the fans, and everyone. That it is definitely something that you are going to want to witness, whether it's in person at the game or watching it on TV. A historic moment for the NHL, but also a historic moment for the Capitals, and more specifically, the Great Eight. So, talking about the anticipation for the future as we move forward, anticipation is building. Will he break that record this season? Again, I think that he will do that, but say he doesn't for some reason, he still has one more year left under his contract. With league officials and legends, Gary Bettman and Wayne Gretzky, keeping an eye on him, they plan to be in the arena when it happens. So quite a moment. And the thing I like about Gretzky, the great one, is that he is not holding on to it. He wants Alex Ovechkin to beat his record. And that just kind of speaks volumes of what kind of guy Gretzky is. And Ovechkin's resilience, that's the big thing. And talent continue to astonish us as fans and analysts alike. If you take a look at his career in total, there's been ebbs, there's been flows. I remember, just last season, people were saying that he's washed. I remember when he was playing for Bruce Boudreau, and he looked like he put on a little bit of weight, and some people thought that he was washed back then. So what Alex Ovechkin has done throughout his entire career is prove everyone wrong. John Carlson, Tom Wilson, they've all said never to doubt the big man. I think we need to start listening to them. So that is the big thing to look forward to this season, of course, is if the Capitals can make a push and win a Stanley Cup. I know it's crazy, and some people have said, Dan, are you crazy if that's going to happen? That's why we're out here, to win games. And if you think back to 2018, that seemed pretty improbable. I think the Capitals are in a really good position. These risky moves that Brian McClellan mentioned in the offseason are paying off big time. So let's hope that Ovechkin, the rest of the team, can stay healthy, and that Ovi can catch and pass Gretzky, and the Capitals can do something unthinkable and make a deep push, or dare I say, hoist another cup over their head. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about the Capitals are looking for revenge over the Bruins. The last game that they played against the Bruins that had you shaking your fist at home like, the next time we play you guys, it's going to be tough. That is the case, and especially since the Capitals are coming off a loss over the Red Wings, I do expect the Capitals to bring their A game. I'll break it all down next. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe or follow Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment, like, subscribe, share. It really helps grow the channel, and I sure do appreciate it. So, in this last segment here, we're going to talk about the Capitals as they are looking for revenge over the Boston Bruins. And it is a team that is not where they wanted to be, for sure. I think that the Bruins, when you take a look at it, had hopes of doing better than where they currently are in the standings. Where are they in the standings? Third place in the Atlantic with 44 points, but it's definitely within shooting distance. Florida and Toronto with only 46 points. If the Boston Bruins could go on a heater, they could make it interesting in the Eastern or the Atlantic, excuse me. So it's going to be interesting what kind of pushback and what to expect from the Capitals this time around, because you got to think that there is some revenge, or that's the way that I wired. You got me last time, but I'm coming to get you the next time. So that's what we're going to dive into here. Both teams have been showing solid results lately, each winning 6 of their last 10 games. This is a team, the Bruins, that has made a coaching change and has seen some steps forward. In their last encounter, if you remember, the Bruins took the edge with a 4-1 victory at home, bolstered by a strong 3-goal third period. So the Capitals need to be prepared for that. They need to play a full 60-minute games. It's not a slogan. It's not something that you want to put on the back of a t-shirt. Do it. Play the complete game. And we can't forget the Capitals were without Ovi the last time, who's been sidelined with a fractured left fibula. Him back in the mix should make it interesting. Now, but for the good news here for Capitals fans, like I said, Ovechkin is back after missing 16 games. He has returned with a bang, scoring in both of his games since his comeback. You take a look at it, the Capitals secured a 5-2 victory over the Maple Leafs, but stumbled and they fell to the Detroit Red Wings. So the thing that's important and what gives me hope is that the Capitals are playing a team that's pretty good. All things considered, the Bruins are much better right now than, say, the Detroit Red Wings. And historically, the Capitals have struggled when they play down to a team. Like when they're playing the Red Wings, I think their mind is somewhere else, maybe about what I'm going to do after the game or what this, that, or the other thing. They need to take their opponents seriously. But Ovechkin, coming back here on the team, I think that could make a big difference. Ovechkin scoring a goal or two would definitely be huge. So you take a look at it. Ovi's been hot lately, netting 7 goals in his last 7 games. Definitely a player to watch. It is going to be must-see TV, that is for sure. But the Bruins, like I say, not the season that they were hoping for. Historically, have been a really great team. The Bruins have had some ups and downs recently, splitting their last home and home series against the Blue Jackets, another team that has a problem playing down to a team. And I think that's something that is commonplace in all sports, that I think subconsciously you don't take certain opponents very seriously. So if we take a look at it, Columbus, though, they're not as bad as they once were, in 5th place in the Metro. Underneath of them, Flyers, Islanders, Rangers. So that is definitely, the Flyers are about exactly where I expected them to be. The Rangers, talk about a story from riches to rags. But the Capitals, they need to keep their eye on the prize, and they need to find a way to win this game. So as for the Bruins, they try to find consistency. They're working on maintaining a responsible game. Goaltender Jeremy Swayman, quite the netminder there as well, has been the key man, boasting a 7-1-1 record in his last 9 starts, and recently achieving his second shutout of the season with an 18-save performance. So the Capitals are going to have their work cut out for them. And this is some other news surrounding them as well. Former first-round pick Fabien Lysell made his NHL debut with the Bruins, but was sent back to the AHL Providence shortly thereafter. And this is all under the tutelage of interim coach Joe Sacco, noted the promise he showed. So keep an eye for future opportunities for Fabien Lysell. But all things considered, you got to take a look at a guy like Joe Sacco, who's got that interim tag on his title, that he's probably wanting to have that removed and be the future long-term official coach of the team. But as the Capitals prepare for this matchup, they'll face a different challenge than the Blue Jackets, and it's going to be crucial to capitalize on the momentum of Ovechkin's return. So you take a look at it, the Bruins, they're not playing the Blue Jackets anymore. They're playing the Capitals, one of the better teams in the NHL. They need to be prepared, but it's going to be a fun game. It starts, I want to say 11:30 local for me, 12:30 where you might be living. But in any event, it is going to be some really great hockey to watch. And I hope the Capitals can walk away from this one victorious, as that they're doing well. Right now, again, I like to look at the standings because it's so tight in there. Capitals 50, New Jersey 51, with Carolina at 45 and Pittsburgh at 39. That there is a gap there with Carolina underneath, but they don't want to become complacent. That if Carolina goes on a heater, they could surpass the Capitals. I think the Capitals should worry about passing New Jersey, who has 51 points, and get back to the top of the Metro Division. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey, become a fantasy hockey expert, and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.